If I could describe the Adidas era of Michigan football uniforms in one word, it would be weird. All that and more coming up after the bumper.
Hey, who's got it better than us?
Welcome to Jersey Head University, where we combine our love for sports jerseys with our passion for great storytelling. We're definitely not a real university, but we keep it authentic, both with our storytelling and, of course, the products we showcase. I just want to preface by saying this video is not a knock on Adidas. Great company, but styles clashed a little bit with the tradition of Michigan football. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That being said though, there was a very brief period of time. Michigan had an 8-year agreement with Adidas, and the uniforms, they were something else. Before we get into today's video, I just wanted to address the elephant in the room. We are a brand new channel and we would love your support. If this is the kind of content that you find valuable, help us run it back by running the triple option: subscribing, liking, and commenting. Without further ado, let's jump into today's content. So from the 90s up until the mid-2000s, Michigan was a bona fide Nike school. Usually when people thought of college football teams that wore Nike, Michigan was one of the first schools to come to mind. Now the Nike contract was set to expire after the 2007 season. The school started negotiating, looking at new suppliers, and they ended up not renewing with Nike. So we got these. Instead of signing an extension with Nike, Michigan went a different direction and signed an 8-year-long deal with Adidas. At first, the changes were really not that drastic. Outside of the bowl-specific patch, really the only major aesthetic difference was replacing the Nike swoosh with the Adidas stripes. There are some other subtle changes that aren't really noticeable from a distance, but you can kind of see more up close. For example, there's a small block M on the back of the uniform, and on the bottom towards the side there's these spandex panels that are meant to stretch to kind of contour the player's body. Now the white jersey did have a couple more changes. Typically with Michigan football, it keeps the old plain home jerseys as is, but they do like to mix it up a little bit with the white uniforms. For example here's a Chad Henne game issue jersey. Now with the white jerseys, you'll usually get some maize or yellow piping throughout parts of the body. So for this style jersey that was worn from 2005 to 2007, you've got from the neckline to the armpit area some maize piping, and that kind of meets in the back here. Also with the away jerseys for this era, you have navy numbers with maize outlining. Adidas did keep the piping, but they made some small changes. So here's a retail authentic. You'll notice the same maize piping from the neckline area, and it kind of goes under the armpits. But something new that they did was have the spandex gussets that you saw from the home jersey. A little bit more pronounced here. They start in the back and they kind of go up towards the front by the numbers there. So that's what was worn the first couple seasons under Adidas. Small changes, but overall very similar to Nike. So after a couple years of not deviating too much from Nike, in 2010 they came out with the Adidas Tech Fit uniforms. These things are tiny. Like this would probably fit a kid, if I'm being honest. Like between a medium, a large, and like a 3XL, there is not a whole lot of difference between the sizes of these. So this actually fits like a giant rubber band. This whole thing is incredibly stretchy. This one here is a Denard Robinson game issued, number 16. Adidas logo at the collar. This one's a skill cut, so it does have some sleeves. And this is the abundance the block M starts to come into play. The athletic director at the time, Dave Brandon, he's a huge marketing guy. He's got a big marketing background. So we started plastering the block M anywhere and everywhere. Before, the only block M that was on the Michigan football uniforms was on the pants. It was on the hip, actually. They kept that, but then they started adding it anywhere and everywhere. Like the earlier Adidas jersey, it was actually very small. That little tiny block M. But starting with the Tech Fit uniforms, and even when they went back to the mesh uniforms, they just had big block M's in the back of every uniform. But as cool and innovative as these jerseys were, they were not very popular with the players, and actually a lot of them went back to mesh jerseys after a little while. Starting in 2011, we finally started seeing some alternate uniforms, and this was actually the first one that was unveiled. I'll be honest, it's wacky, but I love it. So one little known fact about Michigan Stadium was that until recently, there actually weren't permanent lights installed for night games. Part of that was because there wasn't any night games for the first 100 or so years. The game that this jersey was worn in was actually the first time a night game was ever played at Michigan Stadium. It was the 2011 season, and this would have been Michigan's 132nd team. There's actually a little thing here on the collar that says 132 years of championship football. So this was the first true alternate uniform under Adidas, but it's not an entirely original design. See, in the early 20th century, there's a couple Michigan teams that actually wore like a long sweater-like jersey. They took that idea, put a twist on it. They have this old retro Adidas logo that looks really fitting for this uniform. And of course, this nice big block M. All the graphics on there are sublimated, but it looks like an old school kind of knit pattern. Like the earlier jersey, this one is also Tech Fit, so super stretchy. Not a whole lot of difference between like the size medium and a size extra large. The back did not have nameplates, just the player's number. This game was actually the first primetime game between Michigan and Notre Dame since 1990. Like, I think there were 3 or 4 touchdowns scored within the last couple minutes. Like, it was a crazy game, but Michigan came out on top. This is just a really cool jersey to wear for the school's first ever night game. So have you guys ever gotten home or gotten to work and you find a nice little surprise by your desk and you're kind of happy, but it's not exactly what you're looking for? You get home from work and your girlfriend's got this nice fruitcake and you're really grateful, but you just hate fruitcake. You wanted a chocolate cake. That's basically what happened with this jersey. During the 2011 Michigan State game, the players, they went out to the field, did their warm-ups, and while they were doing their warm-ups, I think this was Dave Brandon's call actually, he put these jerseys in every player's locker. The Michigan players are done with warm-ups, they go back inside, and they find these monstrosities just sitting in their locker. And I think it kind of threw off their psyche because reportedly, players weren't too happy, at least some of them. Some of the jerseys couldn't even fit properly, and equipment managers had to cut and tape. Last second, it was kind of a mess. That psyche, that change in psyche was really noticeable on the field because Michigan did end up losing that game. And they were definitely better. They were the better team that day. You know, they say when you look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good. I think that also holds true when it's the opposite. This jersey has been infamously dubbed the Reverse Bumblebee. Reason being is it's similar to the Bumblebee jerseys that were worn earlier in the season, but it's the road version, the white jersey. Similar maize and blue striping on the shoulders. You have a regular Adidas logo, the block M, and of course the player's number. Good old 16, Denard Robinson. You're gonna see plenty of Denard Robinson in these videos. So he's a fan favorite, great Michigan player. On the back, it's just the player's number, no nameplate. And this is just a simple mesh jersey. Nothing too special about this one. One thing that was cool that I noticed is that this care tag, made in Berlin, Wisconsin, it's the same tag that you see on a lot of NFL jerseys. This would have been produced in the same factory. Overall, not a very popular jersey. You know, I guess if I wore this to the big house, it would turn some heads, but I don't know. Doesn't really fit my style. Although Michigan would lose to Michigan State, 2011 was an otherwise great season. Something that did happen in 2011 that was not a regular occurrence until recent was the upset win over Ohio State. We did also end the season on another high note, which is winning the Sugar Bowl. Back then, it was still the BCS, and the Sugar Bowl was a major bowl. Michigan got chosen to play Virginia Tech, and I believe the Wolverines won that game 24-14. This was a specialty jersey that was made just for that game, and I think this was kind of a new, unique style. It wasn't based off a previous throwback, but it's your traditional mesh jersey, double layered shoulders. We've got the Sugar Bowl patch, black M, of course the embroidered Adidas logo, mesh fabric, and the numbers are Kiss Cut Tackle 12. So you've got the blue and the maize. Woven sleeve stripes or shoulder stripes. So these aren't screen printed. Very good knit quality. And on the back, continue the tradition of just blasting that Michigan logo everywhere. Got Michigan on the collar, player's name, Kiss Cut Tackle 12 numbers on the back as well. And yeah, you know, I think if Michigan had lost this game, this would not be as memorable of a jersey. But because they won and the design's not too far out there, I think the majority of fans are probably okay with it. So that was part one. A lot of cool alternate uniforms, first night game, Sugar Bowl win. But it's all going to keep going up from here, right? I mean, it's the Michigan Wolverines. Well, not only does it not go up, it also gets a little bit weirder. But we'll talk about it in part two, so stay tuned.